Hey everyone, it's Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com, and we're here at Appian World 2018, Fontainebleau Hotel, Miami Beach, Florida. And my guest right now is Mike Beckley, CTO, co-founder of Appian. Mike, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. So Mike, we were talking a little bit off camera, and you just joined Appian recently, about 19 years ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. One of the four co-founders, Matt and Bob Kramer, Mark Wilson, Matt Calkins, our CEO, and myself, we were old friends. We decided to start a technology company together. We were all about 25 years old at the time, and we're still doing it today. People say you shouldn't start a company with your friends. I try to modify that, say you shouldn't start a company with all of your friends.
Right, just some of your friends? So my first company was with my friends as well, actually. We grew up literally in diapers together, and we had a great result. Looking back, it was still probably one of my favorite companies that I helped launch, so don't disagree with you there. But it's certainly been a long, strange trip, as they say, I would imagine, over 19 years.
Yeah, you think about all that time, how much technology has changed. When we started, we had no idea what the future would hold. In that sense, we didn't expect the iPhone. We didn't know about the ubiquitous mobile connectivity. We didn't know about NoSQL databases. These technologies that have big data and Internet of Things. None of the stuff had been in the cloud, right? Hadn't been invented yet. There were shadows of all of these technologies. Everything's old becomes new again, but we didn't worry about that. We simply, came up with the name Appian precisely because we didn't want to be tied to one technology, and we wanted a business and a culture that was just built around constant change and innovation. And we wanted to work together as friends for the rest of our lives.
That's fantastic, and it's a great story, right? Unfortunately, the technology business and the whole Silicon Valley thing, you don't hear that kind of feel-good story as much as we'd all like to.
And of course, we're not a Silicon Valley company.
No, well, hence maybe that's part of the reason. But that being said, you're right, 19 years ago, I'm thinking back to where I was 19 years ago. I would say that was my Interliant days, which was an early ASP. We were doing Lotus Notes hosting and PeopleSoft and Lawson and stuff like that.
Pre-cloud cloud.
Pre-cloud cloud. That's a great way of putting it. But there was no concept of what, but back then was the concept behind Appian one still of like what we come to know today as low code, or was it mostly BPM? What was the focus 19 years ago?
So the first slogan of the company, actually, to be precise, was #1 in personalization consulting. Remember, we're a bootstrap. We never wanted to lose control of our technology investment strategy. We never wanted to lose control of how we took care of our customers. And so that meant we needed to self-finance. And so we did consulting work for the biggest companies in the world and for federal agencies. And that helped us learn what kinds of problems were on the horizon and what sort of vision they had for their businesses. And it, quite frankly, funded the business while teaching us how to write industrial strength secure software. Yep. So we didn't concern ourselves too much with more than that at the start. The platform you see today, now in 2018, we first launched the version of that in 2004. So we had about 5 years of building up through consulting before we entered what back then we called the business process management market.
And this BPM market, Mike, is, we've spoken a lot about low code over the last couple of days here at Appian World, but really, when you talk to a lot of the customers, they use low code to build apps for BPM, right? And I think back to, the heydays when BPM was really just starting to emerge, and it was such an important, back when ERP was, and actually ERP still is, such a major investment and time consumer and hit or miss whether or not it actually would do what you wanted it to do. What have you, the BPM market's not what it was in 2004 or 2005, certainly.
Well, what we call these markets is, I think, less important than what they are. And if you go back in time 15 years, you had, that was sort of the heyday of ERP.
Right.
But at the same time, that was consciousness that this attempt to ruthlessly standardize all operations around central databases and central operations was stifling innovation, was stifling agility, and it was incredibly expensive. And so you asked, was this low code always on our minds? And it was, just we didn't call it low code yet. No one had, John Reimer hadn't coined that phrase yet. So that title. We thought about visual programming. We were inspired by any kind of efficient way of agilely delivering software, whether it was Lisp or self-learning code, iterative operations, interpreted code that could still be run at high scale. Small talk, object-oriented code, next step, came along.
Sure.
So all of these attempts to, and even Lotus Notes you mentioned, all these attempts to empower businesses to be agile, we were aware of them, we used those technologies, we learned from them, and we wanted to find a way to learn from all of those principles and overcome the kind of stasis that sort of had taken hold in a lot of enterprises.
Yeah.
And yet, because we grew up working with the largest businesses and regulated enterprises, we knew that it wasn't good enough to just be agile. You had to provide a framework that was going to be regulatory compliant, that was going to be secure, that was going to be self-documenting. And so, building an agile platform is almost, it's not easy, but it's a lot easier if you're not targeting the biggest problems and the most change-resistant enterprises.
Right.
But we just went right at it because it was, to us, those were the most interesting problems.
Yeah. If you're not going to tackle real-world big problems, go home or stay home. So I would imagine, though, coming to an event like Appian World 2018, looking at roughly 1,500 people or thereabouts, it's got to be, personally rewarding and gratifying, right? Because we all want to succeed. But beyond that, when you look out there and you hear people what they're talking about, and this is kind of your baby, right? This is, beyond feeling good, what do you really think about?
So the feeling good part, yes, of course. But at the same time, it's funny to think back. When we were 25 starting this company, we were pretty arrogant. You also think about the times, not just being young and thinking you can take over the world, but also in 1999, in that twilight of the 20th century, we had invented the internet. Not me and Al Gore personally, no, but that as a society, here it was. There's suddenly all these connections that we had dreamed about or read about in science fiction were becoming real. And even the business that we worked at together, a software company, for a few years before we started Appian together, had gone from being 150 people to 2,000 people and gone public in just that 3-year window. This is the dot-com era,
yeah.
and the internet spawned all of these incredible hyper-growth businesses. So our experience was that it wasn't one of slow conservative growth. We were deeply suspicious of the dot-com era and that hyper-growth.
As we all were.
And yet many people still embraced it in their business model. We did not. We were kind of, I guess, strange children in this way. We were wearing suits in our apartments. We were not spending any money on marketing. We were never growing the business ahead of what we could fund ourselves. So we were kind of the anti-dot-com from day one. But at the same time, we were still infected by the expectations that we could accomplish all of our dreams a lot faster than 19 years.
Right.
So Appian World, it is terrific to finally be there, but I look at it like relief, that we weren't crazy, that we actually, were onto something all along. And even though it went through, our Appian grew through 2 different economic recessions, the economic cycles being what they are, and we got stronger every time. It's easy to say that now. It certainly didn't feel good at the time.
No, it's tough. They're a tough time. We've been there.
And so to look back now and say, we did it, there is some relief there. But you pause for a moment and then you look at the next 18 years and you say, where can we go?
Yeah. So let me ask you, where can we go?
So we have made it as easy as possible to build low-code applications at enterprise scale rapidly, but that is just scratching the surface of what's possible when you harness all that data with artificial intelligence and machine learning to not just make it easier and efficient to do work better, but to actually eliminate work that isn't necessary and to optimize in a way which we only dreamed about when we first started automating business processes.
Sure. So let's put some rubber on the road and some concrete examples. One of the things we announced here at Appian World 18 was the, I'm going to mess it up now, the call center.
Oh, the Intelligent Contact Center, yes.
Intelligent,
yes,
ICC.
Yes,
Yeah,
ICC. Yeah, we need more acronyms in life.
Yeah, well, you live in Washington, D.C. You live in a world of acronyms. But the ICC, so to me, that sort of represents this, right? You have some artificial intelligence stuff in here. You take what is sort of a bread and butter piece of business, right? The call center. Whether you're outsourcing your call center, in-housing it, whatever, it's bread and butter to today's enterprises. And using low code, using business process management, but then using cloud and AI and all of these interesting things, we're revolutionizing the way customers can interact. Businesses can interact with their customers.
Mm-hmm. And their customers can interact with
and
business.
customers, and the other way around, obviously. First of all, not everyone watching this is going to be familiar. Why don't we baseline? What does the Intelligent Call Center mean?
Yeah, so the Appian Intelligent Contact Center is an application built on the Appian low-code platform. So it's entirely Appian core components that you can build. You could build your own Intelligent Contact Center with Appian, but now you don't need to because
Right.
we built it for you. So those same reusable components, the process engine, the rules engine, the decision tables, the user interfaces that work on mobile devices as well as on the web, all that business logic and technology, we have simply taken it that further step and applied it using artificial intelligence and the adapters in Appian to connect to these external systems to harness all of that technology to build a customer engagement platform, which still retains the best virtues of a low-code business process platform, which is that the business is in control. You can configure and customize the scripts with which your front-end operators and your staff interact with the customer. You can optimize the offers, the promotions, the service that you provide, and so it's sort of the logical extension of everything we've done before. Mm-hmm. To now say, not only can you optimize your back office processes and rapidly build applications, but now you can extend that efficiency straight to the way you interact with your clients so that they can do things self-service. And as you innovate as a business, as you're launching new products, that your operations can keep up.
Yeah. I was interviewing Matt yesterday. We were talking a little bit about ICC. And he said something interesting, that with all of this automation and all of this sort of AI, robotics, it's not really robotics, but, machine intelligence, perhaps what we'll actually do is make the call center more human, right? And by leveraging that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's precisely the goal we have here. And not just with the contact center, but with the Appian platform as a whole, is to put the human at the center, to allow automation to augment a human process. I like to talk about, you talk about robotics and robotic process automation. This is just as a metaphor for
Right.
what we're talking about, of course. But Elon Musk struggles lately with the ramp up for the Model 3 production. And he's an incredibly impressive guy, and for obvious reasons. But he came out and said that they overused automation. And they overused it in a specific way. They tried to create sort of a lights out factory, apparently, where you were trusting the automation to always work. Appian designs automation around a human process wherever possible so that it augments and extends human capabilities. It's like that bicycle for the human mind, right? Mm-hmm. That it allows a single human to do much more. It allows you to grow your business without having to add people. But fundamentally, where automation fails, there's a human in the loop so that the customer doesn't suffer for it. With the Intelligent Contact Center, if a chatbot is handling an interaction with a human, because many humans want to talk to machines more than they want to talk to humans. If you talk to millennials, they'll tell you they want to use Alexa before they call and talk to a human. And so you can give them that capability with Appian, and yet we're watching and monitoring the sentiment of that interaction. If something goes wrong, if the chatbot doesn't know how to handle a request, the human can see it and be flagged and brought into the conversation seamlessly. So the humans are focusing on humans, not the machines.
Absolutely. We're just about out of time, but I had one more area I wanted to talk on. The hackathon.
Yes.
Right, so you were one of the judges, and I was one of the judges along with a couple of other people, probably not as famous as you and I.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but it was a great hackathon, and what I loved about it was, we saw large organizations who had teams who built something over 30, 40 days, and then we saw individuals who just, in the pure spirit of pure hacking, if there's such a thing.
Yeah. In the original sense of the term, yeah. To
built
create something.
Built some really, really cool stuff. I think this was the first year you guys did it at Appian. What was your impression on that?
It was incredibly rewarding to see. Appian is about being a platform to allow you to scale your ideas. To change the world, you need software these days, and we want everyone to be able to take advantage of that power of the platform. And the hackathon is a great experiment to see what can be done in such a short amount of time. When you time box, you put constraints, it creates an opportunity for creativity.
Yeah.
And to see Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, being one of the judges, really brought it all home for me, because it was Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak who inspired a lot of what we do, and their mission to turn us all into creators by giving us personal computers. Now we're trying to give you all, personal creation software. Instead of it being about the machine, it's about the software, and we're giving you the building blocks to build great ideas as enterprise software.
But still, we're empowering people to be creators.
Exactly.
Excellent. What a great way to finish this interview. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you, Alan.
Much to be proud of here with Appian. This is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com for Appian World 2018 here in Miami Beach. Have a great day, everyone.